Okay, so Benedicte, tell me when you see that we are live.
That's what I'm checking. I don't see anything yet.
I think we're live.
Yes,
I think we are.
we are.
Yes! Welcome everybody. We are the founders with Benedicte. Yes, Benedicte, raise your hand. Great. We are the founders of Wellness Journey and we welcome on our page. How are you doing, Benedicte?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How's Montreal?
Good. I'm very excited to have our first live today and to have this amazing panel with us. I feel very
Yes.
to have you, the four of you with us today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Oh.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So why we are here? It's a good question. So it's just like at the end of last year, in end of 2019, I met Benedicte and we said like, hey, why not doing a co-living? That would be fantastic. And since we have like both very keen on wellness, we're like, yes, a place where people could really know themselves and discover how they are because of our both field, wellness and coaching, which is like really mixed together. And it's like, that's fantastic. And the virus arrived. And we are like,
Surprise!
yeah, surprise. And we were thinking like, yeah, maybe it might not be the right time to buy a place in foreign country. No. So what can we do today to help? We're like, oh, maybe we can just present our wellness community. So that's why you are here today. We want to see different approaches to wellness because we think there is not just one truth, but so many approaches to truth and help people to grow. So that's why we created that Facebook page dedicated to anybody who is like interested in wellness and where you can share your tools and your point of view about a theme. The theme this week is self-awareness because that's the base. That's something where people can grow. And that's something that without it, we cannot do anything. We cannot help our customer. We cannot help their clients. They need to do some work. Yes, they need to do some work. And so we're just like going to hold a panel every Monday with a theme. And the first theme is self-awareness, where we present panelists, our beautiful panelists today. Each represent like a body, a type of body. So you have mental, well, you have physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So, and every day of the week, they will post a tool that will help you, dear audience, with the theme of self-awareness. Benedicte, how am I doing? Do I forget a lot of things?
You did great, but you forgot to introduce yourself as you usually do.
No, it was supposed to arrive after.
Everybody.
So with that great transition, I'm going to present myself. So yeah, so the interview is going to last like around 45 minutes. And after that would be 15 minutes for QA. If you have any question, dear audience, just like send us a comment and we'll answer to it. And so presentation. I'm Fred, and I'm the founder of Senzia. It's a co-founder of Senzia. And it's a meditation and wellness practice in Vancouver, BC. I'm a Reiki teacher. I've got a colleague in that panelist. You can find who is it. And so, and I am a big traveler. I was a nomad like very early on. I wanted to be an entrepreneur to travel, and I began in Asia, and it passed a long time. And after like North America, and I'm based in Vancouver now, but still travel when I can, and there's no virus, and very happy about it. Benedicte, your turn.
My turn. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Benedicte. Benedicte for the friends. You are all my friends, so let's call me Bene. I am a certified professional coach, and I do specialize in career change and leadership growth. I'm currently based in Montreal, and I love traveling as well. I'm currently living in a co-living, hence the beautiful idea of doing a wellness co-living someday. I've met Jonathan actually here in that co-living, and Crystal among one of my different travels back in Guatemala. So that's it about me. Fred,
Yes.
over to you.
Thanks, Benny. And now the moment that everybody's waiting, the introduction of you guys. So, who are we? Who do we have today? So for the physical body, we have Amy Holland, who is an Armantine in North Vancouver. Hi, Amy. Welcome.
Hello.
And how are you doing, Amy?
I'm very well, thanks.
Great. For the emotional body, we have Karen McCullough, director of West Coast Reiki Center in Vancouver, and the author of Get to Know Yourself, a no-nonsense guide to self-awareness. It's a great book. I read it. I love it. And it's just so appropriate with the theme of tonight that I'm so happy. Mental body, we have the great Jonathan Ginter, business coach in Montreal. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello.
Happy to meet you. And last but not least is for the spiritual body with Crystal Penrose, founder of Kokoleka Collective in Hawaii. Hi,
You pronounced
Crystal.
it correctly. Thank you so much for pronouncing it correctly. The first time ever.
I'm so happy. I was like not sure, and I don't like to, just like torture words. Even with French accent, it passed, but still. So thank you. So let's begin. First question for everybody. What does self-awareness mean to you? And how do you apply it to your business? And we're going to begin with you, Amy.
Well, it's something that I thought a lot about even before today. Like I said in our introduction before, I've owned a clinic for 12 years. I now work with 18 people. They're all individual contractors. So before that, it was smaller. It was around 10 or 12 people. But I certainly notice when people have a lack of self-awareness, largely around behaviors and sometimes boundaries. Boundaries are a huge one with clients. I only have ever let go, really like fired one person in 12 years. And it was because he was a loud talker. And I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but it really was a thing that affected everyone. Like from the moment he came into the front door and all day long, you knew exactly where he was and you knew exactly what he was thinking because he was just like, had a, like a voice, like a microphone. And it was crazy. And so that was an important lesson I learned early on. I think I'd only had the clinic maybe for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And so things like that, when you work with somebody like that, those things are very difficult to change. What I said later on is like, I felt like it was like asking him to change the color of his eyes. Like if people don't have a self-awareness around voice modulation, or I mean, this is just one example, of course, or, boundary setting where they're like regularly talking too much about themselves, talking too much to a client who's coming in and paying you, $110 for an hour, and you decide you're going to talk the whole time. You make that decision for them when they're coming to see you. Those are really big ones for massage therapists, and I see it sometimes in people have an option when they book an appointment to leave a note. It could be something like, I have frozen shoulder, or I'm 30 weeks pregnant. And sometimes they'll say, I don't like any talking. And I appreciate that, because it's good to know upfront if someone has that expectation. Probably they have had a bad experience with that, where they went in, paid someone, to take this time for themselves, and the person yapped the whole time. So.
Well, some people are just very private too.
Yes, definitely. What about you, Karen?
What is
is
self-awareness for me?
Yes, and how do you apply it in your wonderful business?
Okay, so first of all, I don't think that I apply it differently in my business than I do in the rest of my life. So I'm a teacher in every area of my life. And self-awareness for me really is the relationship I have with the world outside of and inside of myself. So I don't even think I understood what the word meant until I was probably 35. Honestly, I had no idea what that meant, what self-awareness meant, other than the fact that I was a self and aware. But what I've come to realize now is that self-awareness for me is like the space that I'm able to give myself between a trigger, that's such a buzzword right now, but a trigger or an experience that you're having in your life and the response that you give to it. And holding that space with as much gentleness as possible, because the more gentleness that you hold that space with, the more choice you have in the response that you give. So, you know, for example, my mother is a perfect example actually of self-awareness in practice. So she'll say things that she said to me since she's not up yet. It's okay. And she probably won't watch the replay. And even if she does, she knows that she's done a really good job of helping me develop self-awareness.
She's giving me confidence this story is going to a good place.
Yeah, we can already feel it.
It's true. It's true, though, isn't it? I mean, those kinds of relationships are the most challenging because the trigger and the response is pretty much, you know, it's like a gunshot. It happens, respond. And so, yeah, you know, my mom has little things that she'll say, oh, I know what it is. One of the ones she does is she'll call me, you know, like a month in advance of something that to me seems rather small, like dinner with my brother and sister-in-law, and want to know what appetizers we should have and where she should get the groceries, and, you know, will my nephew like this? And if he doesn't, should we get that? And my automatic response to that is a wall. And for me, self-awareness is allowing myself and allowing my mom a bit of space around the whole interaction. And rather than getting really snarky with her, taking a breath in and going, really, how important is it that I have my way in this situation? What would really be so challenging for me if we did just make the grocery list that is for 6 weeks down the road right now? And honestly, it's given me so much space in all areas of my life, not only with my mother, also with my students, also with the clients on the table, because it gives everybody a little bit of breathing room, and then everybody has a little more choice as to where they're going to go next in life.
So
it's
a matter of, like just Amy said, boundaries too, to have a
that would be another way to put it.
Yeah. So it will be just having like also the boundaries, this, as you say in class too, is not like a wall to like where nobody can penetrate you. It's a space where you can grow and have like growth.
Yeah, and I kind of see boundaries for me, honestly, not as something that keeps other people out. It's something that gives me a little bit more space for myself, so that I don't feel crowded, and I'm able to breathe and then make compassionate choices for both myself and the person I'm interacting with, because those are nicer interactions.
I see. How about you, Jonathan? What is self-awareness for you, and how do you apply it in your business?
Let's put it this way. For me, self-awareness means not being surprised.
Interesting.
Most of the time, if my reaction to something is surprising me, that's not good. So, and when I'm trying to get other people to become self-aware because I'm trying to coach them in their business, or I'm trying to coach them in their career or their life choices, half the time the problem is that they aren't really aware of who they are and what their skills are and what value that they have. They're carrying a lot of garbage from the past that told them that they were worthless and that they have no skills, and any skills they do have, they were just lucky. And so a lot of what I have to work on is getting them to recognize who they are, so that they are not surprised by the fact that they are able to do this thing, or they're not surprised by the fact that they can have success in this area, or that this person is reacting to them in this particular way. And for myself, it's the same thing. If I am confronted with a situation that I haven't run into before, then there's a good chance that I'm going to be surprised by my reaction, and I shouldn't be. I should know myself well enough to know how I'm going to react to something. And I find a lot of that also tends to evolve into the question of acceptance. Even once I know myself, there's an issue about my ability to accept the way that things are, as opposed to letting myself get twisted into a knot over the fact that things are not the way I would like them to be. And I can't really help people move forward until they accept the reality of, you know, who they are and who the people are around them, and stop seeing it through the lens of what it should be like this. You know, why? Because God commanded it? No, it's this is simply how life is. Once you can accept that, everything else becomes a lot easier. You know, your mother is simply this way. Accept it. You know, it's I find a lot of everything else falls into place once you can achieve those two things.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And how do your clients like react when you bring back to the reality? When you just like say, "Okay, Shakespeare, come back here," and
well, I try to do a snark. I try not quite so, you know. I try not to hit them in the head with a tuna, but you can do that. No, a lot of it depends on how fragile their ego is. If some people, if they, in order to preserve themselves, have built up this fantasy that they are in fact wonderful, awesome people that are great at everything, and to wake up to the reality that that's simply not the case, that they are wonderful, awesome people, but not the way that they thought, that can be a very rude awakening. So I try not to throw cold water onto a sleeping person. You know, it's just not very pleasant.
No, it's not at all.
So it's usually a slow process, you know. I mean, there can be some moments of tough love, and some people need it, but I try not to do that as that much. It's people have to come to it in their own time. In much the same way, I have to accept that they are not going to wake up just because I snap my fingers and want them to. They'll wake up when they're ready to wake up.
Yes.
And some people can't be helped. You know, in my business, it comes down to whether I'm being asked to come in and fix a problem with a product or a company or a person. There has to be a recognition that there's a problem. It's a 12-step program. They have to recognize there's a problem. They got to recognize that they're part of the problem. And then they've got to show a willingness to do something about it, right? If they don't meet those three criteria, I walk away. I can't help them. Nothing I can do.
Makes sense. Thank you, Jonathan. What about you, Crystal? What is self-awareness for you? And what does it mean in your business?
Well, thankfully, I got to listen to all of you, so I can give the best answer. No, I'm just kidding. Yes! I had a little bit more time to get my brain kicking this morning. I really love breaking down the word awareness. Like, I like breaking down words. It's really fun, especially lately with so much time in my hands. So you break down awareness, like, and you take the awe and then are. I like to see it like being in awe of all that you are. And I'm going to take more of an optimistic spin on it and just say that in my work, in my job, like with chocolate, I work with ceremonial chocolate. So, you know, chocolate isn't just a sweet or dessert. It's an ancestral medicine that's been used for millennia to really bring people into their hearts. And so my job, you know, serving people chocolate, holding loving space for them, is to, basically allow them to sort of see, and as Ram Dass would say, have loving awareness of everything that comes up, whether it's a shadow or a light aspect of themselves. And what I really I really love Brené Brown's work because, you know, with everything, I know she's been around for a while, and I'm so glad she is, because of everything with shame and vulnerability. And I think the reason why our culture lacks, you know, especially American culture lacks a lot of self-awareness is because of the shame that exists around our shadows. It's really shameful to, you know, especially when you rock up in a relationship and everything's great for the first few weeks or maybe 6 months, or if you're really lucky, maybe a year. And then, you know, in relationship to others, things start to show up, shadows start to come. And it's like the only way they can really come out and come into the light is through love. And so I really love the quote that I just posted it yesterday on my page, that you don't have to change yourself. You just have to love yourself. So it's like these aspects of self that are coming up into our awareness, all of them. It's like, it's just our job to love them. And, you know, I just like to think about that at the end of my life, am I going to be able to love it all? You know, am I going to be able to look at it all and love it all? And until I'm there, like, probably going to have a few more lifetimes to keep going until I get there. But that's really how I like to look at it. And how I use it in my business is just holding that really loving presence for people, whether it's one-on-one or in a ceremony, for when the realization, the spark, you know, whatever it is, you know, when they become aware of a limitation or a belief that's, you know, that they're chained to a little bit, to just allow themselves to love it. Because if you don't love it, you'll never let it, these aspects of self go, or let them shine even more if it's a positive aspect of self. So
yeah, it's definitely not, it's a long process, and I love the way that you say many lifetime. Yeah, probably many lifetime. It's like to just accept and all part of yourself, and the shadow working is a big part of that. It's like not refusing, not putting back in the earth, and just like accept all facets of your personality. And sometimes there's some part where I wish it would be different for me, but that's not that. So yeah. Let's go to another question. So what is the last discovery that you made about yourself? And who wants to answer first can raise their hand. Jonathan, you didn't raise your hand, but I think I'm going to begin with you.
I'm not surprised. All right.
Sorry, beautiful smile. That's why.
Last thing I discovered about myself. I just spent, well, before all of this happened, I spent 3 months traveling and spending most of my time alone, which sort of makes this isolation a little unusual, because it feels more like a continuation, except I don't leave this place, you know, little less travel, but the same sense of isolation. And most of my life, I've been in company, in relationships, or, you know, I always had people in my life that were very close to me and that shared my space and shared my life with me. So I think the thing I've most discovered about myself is the extent to which I need to be isolated, or the extent to which I need to be alone. I don't actually miss having people around as much as I thought I would, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't worry me. It just means that I sort of enjoy the introspective moments more than I thought I would. And I think it's the incessant need to have people around prior to this was really just me not wanting to be alone with my thoughts, you know?
Yes, definitely. I can see that. I felt like in that pandemic.
It's all
over. It's a bit like the same for lots of people with, like, for me, it was more like I felt that I was in empty chamber, and every part of my life was like coming like in front of me as the screen. Is like, do you want to keep that? Are you sure you want to keep that after the pandemic? Are you really, really sure that it like follow your values and give you joy. But everything was like feeling more intense, like way more intense. And it was like a place where I had to look at it. I didn't have a choice. So, yeah.
Well, last year I sold my condo and sold off almost everything I owned, and I reduced myself down to just 2 small carry-on bags, and that's now the scope of my life. That and my guitar. That's it. That's all I own. Yeah. But so I already sort of gone through that, and my ex-wife would tell you that I'd been in that process for some time, you know, sort of cutting off different parts of my life or cutting off different things out of my life that just, you know, measuring the relative importance of things. What do I want to give my time to? And a lot of stuff just got thrown out. But my mom would have told you she was rescuing stuff out of my trash for a long time when I was a kid. Why are you throwing this away? Because, you know, I don't know. Never play with it.
Oh, lots of moms today. I love that. What about you, Crystal? Is there like something recently that you learned about yourself?
Yeah.
That you would like to share?
Jonathan, I feel like we're passing ships in the water. I like just finished traveling for the last 11 years, just like full-time travel. And I just landed in Hawaii and in Kauai to be exact. And what I've really learned about myself lately, you know, there hasn't been any normalcy, you know, in my life. Like there's a routine that changes up every month, every few months, you know, because when you pick up and move, things shift, you're in a different time zone, a different reality. And so for me, like this whole like chop wood, carry water deal, you know, like just the everyday mundaneness of life, I've realized that I enjoy it so much and I missed it so much. To go water the garden, or, oh, baby, you want me to sweep the kitchen? Yes, I would love to sweep the kitchen. And that's been my recent, you know, like my recent discoveries. I find so much. I actually get so much. I get as much like psychic development or self-development or self-awareness from sweeping as I do meditating in a retreat in silence for 10 days. And I think that's really something that that is medicine for a lot of us, you know, that we can find the magic in the mundane. And it's just like a perspective shift, because it's this, you're still in a flow state when you're sweeping, as same as when you're like dancing or juggling or whatever, you know. It's a really beautiful thing to just, you know, be just a human, just be a human sweeping my kitchen. It's such a wonderful miracle. So that's been something that I've been really enjoying lately, and it's only been a few months. So check back in with me next year and let's see.
My several jobs in life were physical ones, you know, and I would come home and have all my creative energy for music or poetry or something else because I spent all of my day just zoning out and doing physical work. And then my life switched over into much more mental work and in technology, and I would come home exhausted with no energy left.
Yeah.
All my creative energy had been spent. And you know, so there's a lot to be said for physical labor.
Oh, definitely. How about you, Karen? What is like the last discovery you made about yourself?
Well, I don't know if that I would say that there's anything particularly new, but the solidified how important structure and practice is in my life, but particularly structure. And that if I don't have a structure, things get a little weird. So I really like to have a 1, 2, 3 step in my life that I can come back to.
Yeah.
Which is basically a practice. But that doesn't necessarily mean meditating, just like Crystal was saying. It means having a place to lean into and to hold you up when the world gets a little bit chaotic. So exercise is important to me. Drinking water is important to me. meditating is important, but just having a structure to support me that I don't have to think about, you just come back to it and it's there to hold you up, and it's, it's a structure. And until I was definitely in my 30s, I thought I hated structure, but man, I like it. It's great. Structure's good. It's good.
You agree, Crystal? Structure is good.
Yes, Karen, what's your star sign? What's your sun sign?
I'm a Libra.
Oh, you're a Libra. That's great. So you got structure. That's so good. I don't mean to make this astrological. Sorry. I'm a Capricorn, so I'm all Earth. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, if you want to get into astrology, I have got 0 Earth in any of my charts.
Oh wow!
My chart. Wow. 9 signs are in Libra, and the rest are in air and yeah. So that if you're going to go there, apparently that's why I need structure, because I'm flighty by nature.
I see. Amy, what is the last thing you learned about yourself? Tell me.
Well, I do not have a mindfulness practice.
Oh,
no
kidding. Oh,
I know, and I know that I ought to. I mean, I think as Crystal and Karen were saying, you can find sort of meditation in in mundane household chores or going for a walk in the forest or something. So I definitely have that, and I feel that. But I was having a conversation yesterday with a friend, and I was saying, those weeks in isolation, because we're just started back to work last week, those weeks in isolation, I said, I can't believe how short a day is. It's so short. And she said, oh, it's funny because I'm actually finding it to be really long. And she's had a mindfulness meditation practice for maybe 10 or 12 years. I think she's 20 minutes every single day, and sometimes 20 minutes twice a day. And she says that she has found that to be very helpful for her. And she says she actually can feel like she can slow time down because of that. And it was interesting to me, because for some reason, I think I really I seem to try to avoid having a mindfulness practice when I know that it would be really good for me.
The resistance, we know that one very well.
I always think I'm just on the cusp of doing it. Like, things are going to slow down. And I mean, things just slowed. They're never going to slow down like hopefully not, like the last 9 weeks. And, if not now, then when? And nope, I didn't do it. I still didn't do it.
Yes, well, yeah, that is like you talk about the meditation in the mountain. The Japanese is all about that. I think it's called samu. It's a meditation in motion when they just garden and like do the gardening, wash the dishes. Like in their culture, they will not think about having somebody else cleaning their place. Well, I guess at some high stratosphere people they would, but it's a practice. It's a practice of gratitude also.
I think
yes, Jonathan.
Well, I think anyone who puts on music and dances around, or anyone who takes a hot bath, anyone who goes for a long walk, welcome to your meditation practice. Welcome to your mindfulness.
Yes, exactly.
I think we tend to put a lot of terms around it that people think, oh my God, I don't do that because I don't. Yeah, you do. We all do. We all find those moments when we're alone with our thoughts and no one else is bothering us. We just have different ways of doing it, and some people feel very uncomfortable calling it a mindfulness practice. It just sounds too, new agey. But
yes,
but everybody does.
Yes.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you have a mindfulness practice. There is something that you do to de-stress.
Yeah. You see, Amy, like Jonathan is like showing you like something about yourself with like mindfulness and removing some guilt too. It's like, yes, you do a mindfulness practice. Love it.
I don't mean to force Amy into a mold or anything,
No, I do. No, that's what I was saying. I think maybe I probably could benefit more from something that has more structure and that I did daily. But I do resist structure as well. I need it and I resist it. That's the weird thing that happens there.
I see. And okay, one more question, Benedicte, we continue? Yes. So what advice you would give to our audience for them to know themselves better? What would be the first step to know themselves better for people who don't know much about self-awareness? So yes, is there somebody who wants to begin first?
Yeah, I'll start.
Go.
So the problem that I end up having to deal with first with most people is people don't know what choice they need to make in life. And that really comes down to they don't know what they really want, right? And so you get people who are constantly sort of in this paralysis of weighing pros and cons. I don't really know, but maybe, but my friend said this and this other person said that. I really respect them. And so I will tell people there's a very simple way to make those sorts of choices and to know yourself better, which is to stop thinking. Logic is not your friend. Logic is a tool. And it's the kind of tool that can be a weapon. So you can easily use logic to talk yourself into something and to talk yourself out of things. And people often talk themselves into very bad choices, talk themselves out of making right choices. So logic is not a useful way to process your life. So you turn that off. And then the second thing I want them to do is to turn off all emotions about it. I don't really care how they feel about these choices. Because again, emotions are not your friend. Fear is the strongest emotion. Anger and resentment and vindictiveness all tend to control our decision-making. So I don't want people to make the choice that they are happiest with. I want them to make the choice that is right, right? So turn off your emotions. And what you're left with then is your intuition, is your instinct, your gut, which is ultimately you. That is the truest expression of what is right for you and what you believe. So I usually have to prepare them to say, look, what your intuition is going to tell you to do is often going to be scary, surprising. It may not be the choice that's going to make you the happiest, but it will be the right choice that will take you to the right thing. And so all it simply requires that you have the courage to step past how you feel about a choice and what you think of it, and simply follow what your intuition is telling you. The number of people who have failed through second guessing themselves is ridiculous. It's a constant problem where people's first instinct was the right thing that they should have done. But no, they went and did this other thing instead. So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Does anybody wants to say something about what Jonathan said or add something to it?
I do.
I had the feeling you did.
No, well, I understood everything that Jonathan was saying and makes sense. I would add that before you can do any of those things, you need to become aware that there is even a choice. And sometimes people don't even know that because they're so quick to react.
Yes.
They don't even know that there is a choice. And so a step I might add to everything he just said prior to that is to take a bit of a breath and give yourself a space to see that there are even choices before you recognize that there is logic and emotion and everything attached to it. Just, recognize that there's a choice rather than just immediately punching yourself in the face. Or
a lot of people
yourself in the face is usually the way it manifests for me. I don't know how it manifests for others. It's actually the first chapter in the book that I wrote. It's called Notice, and it's just like notice what is happening. Just notice.
So important.
Yeah, no judgment, none of the rest of it. And of course you're going to judge it. So then notice that you're judging it. Be kind to yourself. Go, okay, I judged because that's what I do. And then move on. Rather than going through this whole freaking charade that we have going on in our lives. It's like, oh, now I'm doing that again. Punch myself in the face. Oh, now I got to punch myself in the face for punching myself in the face. And then you never get all of the wonderful ideas that Jonathan just presented to us because you're stuck in this vicious.
It's people telling me, when I start presenting options to people, and they say, well, there's nothing else I can do. Really? What about this? What about that? Oh, no, but those are impossible. I get that word a lot. It's impossible. Why is it impossible? Well, because I've never done that before. And, but so-and-so might not like it. So, does that person own you? What are you talking about? Or no one else has ever done that before. Has anyone else ever tried? Well, that guy tried and he failed at it. Yeah, that was his problem. Right. His failure is not your failure. I don't understand. Why are you not doing it? We tell ourselves a lot of stories that about how incapable we are.
Yes.
I agree. Amy or Crystal, do you have any comment you would want to add about how to guide your clients if they want to know themselves better, a tool or something?
I can go.
Yes, go Amy.
I think about it less with clients than I do with, again, staff, even though I have wonderful staff.
Yes.
I really truly do. It's just, this many years in, I've had to have some conversations with people, and it's so interesting when you give people feedback about something that they really truly need to hear, and how some people just start squirming immediately. Or talking over me is a thing that I notice, and I just think like they just want me to stop talking. Or they go, yes, I get it, and I'm like, I haven't even finished my sentence. and I think I'm pretty good at delivering those kind of things very gently and with lightness as well. I have said to people, I put my hand on their shoulder and I smile and I say, "You're very loud." I've done that. I mean, I'm talking about the same thing again, I realize, with loud people, but I've said that to clients as well when they're on, people get really animated and they get really riled up when they're talking. And again, I'll say, "I don't know if you know, but you're yelling."
Interesting.
And then, more important things like big personality things, that I try to remember if someone is giving me feedback to not just put up a defense right away, and remember that it's probably really hard for this person to say what they're saying to me right now. And it took a lot of bravery for them to say that, and just really, really just soften and take a breath and try to take that in, because it's probably very important, especially if it's coming from somebody who's quite close to you.
Yeah, I was taught to do a critique sandwich, to say something nice and, compliment them on something, then bring up the thing you'd like them to correct, and then finish up on, but I'm sure that you can do this, and, I'll be there for you, and say something positive at the end.
Yes, I teach as well, and I definitely utilize that in teaching. I love that it's called a critique sandwich and not what it used to be called anymore.
Yes, I was like, this is not how I could it. That's not the name that it's better. It's way better. Thank you.
I don't remember what it used to be called. Maybe you guys can tell me after.
I'll tell you later, Karen.
Okay.
How about you, Crystal? Is there a thing that you would like to add?
Yeah, I would say for somebody who's just starting out, maybe resistant to new practices or maybe open to new practices, but I just would say wake up and notice. Like when you first wake up in the morning, there's a lot of things talking. It's like your subconscious mind. Like when I wake up, I mean, just watching this video the other day of this really high level Kundalini teacher, and she just I really loved her transparency. She's like, most days I wake up and I catch myself in some really nasty thoughts. Like, you suck. Why are you you know, so it's like, notice how you're feeling. Notice your body. Like when you first wake up, is your body like, oh, you know, what parts of your body are feeling, you know, stuck or stagnant or sore, you know, because the body talks, you know. And I would also say to notice yourself before your morning coffee.
Yes. Yes.
Because as soon as we, you know, when we first wake up in the morning, I feel like that's when we're our most vulnerable, tender, you know, real selves, and that's when we're the most impressionable. So, you know, that's a really good time to do a practice like journaling or going for a walk, walking the dog, or, you know, just really allowing that soft space when you first wake up to show you and to listen.
Yeah, that's a very, very good advice. And I agree with you, like the morning is like the place of vulnerability, and vulnerability is a place where you learn way, way more about yourself because you're not guarded. So that's where the yummy stuff is. Sometimes a bit painful, but that's worth it. Benedicte, I think it's your turn.
So much for sharing all of those great insights. I love, you know, the fact that we can gather 4 great people like you coming from different cities, backgrounds, universities as a whole, and talk about one same topic and find some common ground. So it's great. And I really appreciated you know, talking about the fact that self-awareness is actually very simple. It is accessible to everyone. You know, whatever you do during your day, there's a reason for which you do it. When you decide to take the bus to go to work, it's because maybe you have the chance to read a book on the bus. But someone else would actually walk there because they need to be outside and feel their body. We're all different, but all those tiny, small things actually have a reason and have a lot of information for you to get to know yourself better. And like you all said, it is a lifetime job. So whatever, you know, you are on your self-development path, whatever age you have, whatever is going on with you, it is something definitely you're going to have to do throughout your life. And Fred started by saying, you know, it's all about practice. You don't create a change by just practicing one thing one time and expecting that, you know, everything is going to change. No, you need to practice it again and again. So thank you for all of that. We do have some questions. Check that out. So it's Karen, you talked a little bit earlier about boundaries as a buffering space more than walls. Could you elaborate a little more around that? And all the other speakers, you're more than free to jump in as well.
Can you ask the question one more time? Boundaries creating space more than walls?
About boundaries as a buffering space more than walls?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm going to tell you the truth. This is something I just discovered for myself not that long ago, which is crazy. Well, it's not crazy. It's just the truth. Yeah, for me anyway, and well, I believe that most of the world, boundaries, even when we talk about boundaries between neighbors or between countries or between anything, it's to keep something out, right? I don't think necessarily think about so much about what's inside of those boundaries. And so recently I realized that it was because of dating, because dating is my best teacher. And I had this boundary that I had put up, and it was because I was pissed off and I was like, get out of my space. And then suddenly I realized, oh my goodness, when I do that, I have a lot more room here for myself to breathe. And then I can hold myself in a more powerful, empowered position, honestly. And when I have the space to do that, then I can respond, whether it be to the person that you're dating or your mother, from a place of spaciousness, and where the thoughts and the ideas and the messages that you're communicating are truthful, and they're also kind, even if, like Amy was saying, even if you're delivering information that, you know, perhaps they may not want to hear, or you may not even want to give. If you're doing it from a place of spaciousness or with breath involved, generally it comes out more gently, and you can have a more honest interaction with that person, because you're not trying to keep them out. Rather, you're just trying to give yourself space to breathe. Does that make sense? It's just really a difference in perspective, honestly. And something else is that you can, depending on the size of the space you're in, that boundary can be massive, but you can also shrink it down and just, it can be really close into your body, but still you'll have the same amount of spaciousness. It's just that quantum physics, I guess, is maybe what it is. No, I don't know. I'm just pulling that out of my butt. I have no idea about quantum physics, but you know what I mean. Like, things expand and get smaller, but the sense of spaciousness stays the same. So the more you practice it, the more you are going to be interacting with other people and the world from a kind and honest and authentic place. Did that answer the question?
I guess so, yeah. It's like telling the world what your needs are.
No. Actually, it's not. It's not even good. It's telling yourself what your needs are, and your needs are to identify yourself and your own space. And this is my space. This is for me. And that means that maybe somebody has a request of you, or maybe has something that they need from you, or maybe you have told yourself that the world needs something from you, and that makes your space encroach even further into you. And then suddenly your body starts doing weird things, and your mind starts doing weird things, and then your emotions respond to it, and then your interactions with the world become less pleasant usually. And so it's more about giving yourself the space to know A, who you are, B, how you might react, and C, just to breathe, so that when people do have requests of you, you can give them an honest yes or no answer so much. Does that make sense?
It's a measure of self-respect.
It's definitely a measure of self-respect.
Yeah, it's ultimately, when you're setting a boundary, what you're really saying is, look, I don't mind, sharing my bathroom, but you're not sleeping in my bed, and you're not going into my closet and wearing my clothes. There are, when you put it into physical terms, do you mind if somebody invades your home? Okay, do you mind if they invade your kitchen? What about if they invade your bathroom? What about your bedroom? What about your closet? Everyone has a point where they go, okay, no, that's ridiculous. That's a bridge too far. All right, why is that a bridge too far? Well, because it's a lack of respect. Yeah, exactly. When you're setting a boundary, you're saying, this is what's important to me, and this is what's not important to me, right? And I'm basically asking people, and sometimes not asking, them to respect me and respect the things that are important to me. And when somebody goes trampling across that boundary, you can't stop them, but you can say, okay, that person has no respect for me. So, yeah, thank you, goodbye. But
something else. Oh, sorry, Jonathan.
No, it's okay. We can't get around the fact that boundaries are barriers, but they're not there to be a barrier. They're there to demonstrate what respecting you means. If you respect me, here's what that means, right? That's ultimately to me, that's what we're talking about here.
You wanted to add something, Karen? Yes.
Yeah, well, I was just going to add to that I've been teaching Fred's and my students and my other students, all my students, that we have boundaries in ourselves too. Hey, we cross our own boundaries all the time and go, oh, I know I said I was going to do this, or I was going to do that, but doesn't matter because so-and-so needs this, or that makes me uncomfortable. And we cross our own boundaries all the frickin' time. And that's just true. as damaging, honestly, because the more often you cross your own boundaries, the less you believe yourself. The less you believe yourself, the less likely you are to take action on something that's maybe something that would be really wonderful for you. I know this because I cross my own boundaries all the time. It's like, yeah,
we will do. Yes. I really love that the space that you're talking about. For me, it strikes me at like giving you space to act instead of reacting. And like, so you basically, you're grounded and you will do some things that follow your value instead of just reacting fast to something, and having that space of self-respect, like Jonathan said. And I really like that. So Amandine, thank you for the question.
Oh, yeah, that was Amandine?
Yes, you know Amandine too.
I've never met her really, but have I? No. Hi, Amandine. Okay.
She hosts an event like at our center.
Maybe we can quickly finish on this one before leaving the call. Crystal, you talked about the idea of a shadow self and how to learn love through that. So Amandine, again, is very curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so curious what she's curious about. Like for me, doing shadow work, like the biggest game changer for me was to basically do it in relationship. They say now, like a lot of teachers will say, if you wanted to get enlightened before, you went to a cave, you meditated for 20 years and you come out and you're enlightened and you teach people. Now, if you want to become enlightened, whatever, or more aware of yourself, get into a relationship. Try that one. See how that goes. And so I would say for me, the greatest teacher in doing shadow work is being in a relationship. Also, second place I would say is having a business partner. So you two, Fred and Benny, you guys are in for a nice fun adventure. You get to love each other through your shadows. And then the last one is attempting. Now I'm going to say attempting because I've been there, to change your diet. So.
Oh, yes, that's a big one.
And so I just think when the mirror is so, you can't turn away, you can't hide whenever, when we're in those situations, that's a really good time to do shadow work. And that's a really good time to practice looking at aspects of self that are, it's like, wow, I didn't know that was there. And just looking at it with love and learning how to hold space for others when those aspects, come out in a loving way, instead of like, you're being stubborn again. It's like, oh, I noticed that you're being stubborn, or, just using observations rather than judgments or blaming or complaining or shaming. And so I don't know if that answered the question. I guess I just gave 3 ways to go into it, and one way to have more love throughout it. But yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're coming to the end of our call, so I'd like to thank you all for your
Thank you.
Thank
you, everybody. That was awesome. Thank you.
Lovely to meet you guys.
Lovely.
Yeah, it was so nice hanging out with you all. And thanks for holding it down in the masculinity area today, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Very well.
Testosterone in the room. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. So I think we're just like, we did great, huh, Benny? You see that?
Yeah, not bad, I guess. Well,
not bad for the first one. Thank you.
That part I was not really sure about.
And so we just remember to our audience that you're gonna post some tools on the page about self-awareness, and we'll begin with you, Amy. You are the big one for tomorrow. So on the physical, and then it's gonna be Karen for emotional, then Jonathan for mental, and Crystal for spiritual. So every day you're gonna learn something new. Yeah.
But no more
Great.
To create self-awareness for you guys who are watching us.
Yes, so we're gonna say goodbye, and we'll see you very soon. And if you want to contact any one of you, of course, there is your info on the page. You're welcome to tell more about like what you are doing, it's a place of share and community. So it's your page too.
Awesome.
Okay. See you guys.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Au revoir.